All right, we should probably get into it before the people on YouTube get a little annoyed that there's nothing in the form of music playing. Hopefully the new angle works out because I'm trying a different one. We're trying something a little new. So here we go. Top down angle. We're actually going to be attempting to do a lot because I need to update things. So I was about to go to sleep last night, and then I grabbed my Predator Annihilator out of my storage because I've been really thinking about this list. I want to stick with Warp Meld. And I watched, in the past 2 days, I have watched 2 games, 2 full-length games. No, I didn't pre-order it. There's only like one other Chaos Knights player at the store that I go to, so I'm just going to go get it when it comes out. I'm just going to pay up front, like just walk in. Is it already sold out, though? It shouldn't be sold out, right? This guy's magnetized. I'm going to stick with Warp Meld for a bit. I don't think I'm taking Warp Meld to the Tourney that I'm supposed to be going to. Maybe, though. I don't know. I'm still torn. I don't like that it's 2.5-hour rounds. But there's now 2 schools of thoughts that I'm running for the Warp Meld faction. And it's you either do half Warp Meld and then half supplemented with heavy armor. Because, like, Predator Annihilators are really good in the new rules. They're so good. God, that looks so smooth on stream. They're genuinely just like reroll. So you hit something with a spell, and then this gets reroll hits, reroll wounds. That's way too good. Or not wounds, damage. So all you need is just something hitting your armored target with a spell, and then this thing just annihilates it. Pretty much, straight up. If you can figure out a way to, like, improve wound potential, like, that's even better. But yeah, like, this... The Annihilator is really stupidly good right now. Especially on the Thousand Sun side. So, because I watched a list that was 2 Annihilators, 1 Forge Fiend, and then just a bunch of basic stuff. Now, the key thing I am missing that I now 100% agree I need is 2 more squads of Enlightened with bows, which are sold out in the United States right now. I put some feelers out there because I wouldn't mind them. Also, chat on screen, everyone. I got chat to go up on screen for all of you. For both YouTube and Twitch, so you guys will see each other talking. I just need to remember to try to work slightly over here. I also discovered this before I saw someone doing it in a game on a live stream. This is a Sorcerer and Terminator armor, which means it's a sorcerer. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, why does that matter? It means this guy can get the Bray Lord, which means I could have a Terminator and a 10-man squad of Zangors giving them lethal hits with constant uppy-downy. Just popping up places. He can appear within 6 inches of people in that squad. You know, just by the way. What's up, Arturo? So I could give the Terminator Sorcerer Lord Bray Lord. So I could have an uppy downy Terminator Sorcerer Lord that can start on the field and uppy downy turn 1 if I don't get first turn, if I want to. Dual streaming. Oh, hang on. Up over here, you guys have chat. Have fun with it. Broshi's over on Twitch. You guys can kind of see what's going on. We're figuring it out. You guys shouldn't have, and again, just double checking to make sure the audio didn't completely screw up. Everyone on Twitch should have music. You guys over on YouTube shouldn't. I mean, that's just how YouTube is. I can't change it. So I'm at that point now with them where it's like, look, you guys can watch me do work. That's fine. If you want music, you can pop over to Twitch. If you just want to chill and talk, I'm fine with it on YouTube. That's cool. That's cool. So we're basically just working on the layer paints over the contrast I usually apply over top of metallic. I kind of want to smooth it out. And I don't need to get everything is probably the important part here. I like that the contrast, the parts of the contrast I miss are going to just be like a dulled metallic. So it sort of feels a little better. This is Thousand Suns. I main Thousand Suns. My EC is a new collection, and I like EC, but the Thousand Suns Codex dropped, and in terms of a completed collection, my Thousand Suns are very close. Granted, because of how few things there are on the EC side of things, my EC collection is also very close to being pretty full. I feel like if I were to finish it out, I would probably want... I don't know. I would probably want at least one Greater Demon. Probably not the named one. Shalaxi doesn't really help Emperor's Children. She only helps demons. Whereas, like, Kairos for Thousand Suns is a generating point for command points. So, I mean, he's just useful. But when it comes to breadth of models to choose from, collection, Thousand Suns is my jam. No, yeah. I imagine YouTube has a mild delay. Twitch might also have a delay, but I don't know. But yeah, Thousand Suns were my first love. We tested the Warp Meld list at a recent tournament. I did not do well. And I know... So when I got home, my brain was like, all right, here's the weaknesses I saw. So I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was thinking of the weaknesses and the strengths. I started sorting some stuff out. I looked in the app. That's when I discovered the Terminator Sorcerer Lord could lead the Bray Herd. I assumed his keywords weren't right for it, but they are. He's a sorcerer and a Terminator, not a sorcerer and Terminator armor as his keyword. He's a sorcerer and a Terminator. So he gets to be a Bray Lord, and I was like, oh, I could have just done that. I didn't need to use a regular sorcerer for it. It would have been much better for him to be on that system. Well, you're in luck, because the new detachment they dropped for Chaos Space Marines is magic inspired. I also, in recent games I've been watching, I need to get over people who have anti-infantry or anti-fly. I need to just get over it. Like, I get that it sucks giving a squad access to anti-fly for, like, regular on-foot people. But the +1 to hit is just so useful into Zangors and stuff. Yeah, there's like... I looked into it, and it's about rituals and stuff. It's a pretty cool sounding Chaos Space Marine list, because it's magic focused. Although, I will say that... So, these are Thousand Sun themed. I mean, I got the guy in the gunner seat who's a little KSon, right? Usually when I run tanks, at least before the Codex dropped, I was running them as Chaos Space Marines. Because I have Vashdor. I have a Vashdor and I have three converted. 3 converted Warpsmiths. I also have 30 cultists. Because originally Thousand Sons had access to cultists, so I had all my converted sand cultists. Look like Tusken Raiders. And I was happy with that. That was pretty cool. Now, Thousand Sons don't have access to cultists anymore. They have Zangors instead, which is cool. But yeah, 2 schools of thought on Warp Meld. You either go hard into Warp Meld, or you go 50-50. And the things I was focusing on in Warp Meld, I didn't need. And I definitely think the key units for success are Zangor Enlightened on discs. They are so cheap. They have 30-inch range. They are probably one of the best screening units you can have because of that range. And because with an Exalted in tow, you can make one side of your... Or you can make one squad 18-inch lone op. So 30-inch threat range, 18-inch prevention of shooting into the squad. They can just kind of sit somewhere and do whatever the hell they want, which is amazing for screening when you can also stare down an aisle and shoot whatever the hell pops out. And at AP2 damage 2 shots, usually looking for lethals, so on average you're firing 12 times with the squad. It's not incredible. Like, it's not anti-infantry, it's none of that. It's perfect for slow chipping down opponents that don't think you're going to chip them down too much. I was shocked at how much damage my Zangor Enlightened with bows were doing to all the knights that I fought. Like, no joke, this tournament I went to was probably half Imperial Knights. And most of them were all playing the same exact list. The first guy I lost to took 3rd place. I just couldn't do anything. Every time I stepped out to try anything, it just wasn't enough. But yeah, so most of the lists I've been looking at are kind of interesting in its spell casting. I might actually go to my full 70 Zangor. It's 3 small squads, 2 large squads. The 2 large squads usually move on their own. I think you give maybe 1 large squad a Zangor or a Zangor Shaman for the +1 to hit. But it's mostly with that squad about using his spell. I think what you're supposed to do with him is you're supposed to hit something with the AP reduction, and then you sacrifice models in that 20-man to increase his attacks and strength, and then hit it. Because he has what is arguably a really good anti-tank attack or anti-heavy attack. It's pretty good. Let me pull it up. So it's sadly only 1 damage, so that kind of sucks. But it is D6 attacks blast. Hopefully you're shooting into something with like a lot of people. It is strength 9 as a base level. Hitting on 3s. When he's in a squad, he's hitting on 2s. It's AP nothing. That's the garbage of it. It's just AP 0. So you have to apply AP to the target and then hit it with this. And I think you sacrifice 1 Zangor out of the squad. Let me look at his abilities. While he's leading a unit in the shooting phase and the fight phase. So you can do this in melee too. And his melee is actually a lot better in general. Because it comes with AP and D3 damage. Basically, you kill one bodyguard, and then you roll a D3 to add to the attacks and strength of the weapon you're firing. So you start at 9. I mean, you get the full D3. That's a strength 12. If you roll high on your D6 and roll high on the D3, I mean, that's a good amount of attacks. And then if you apply AP to the target, that's nice. It's not the end-all be-all. You probably won't use it that often. You can also... So in Warp Meld, you do that. You kill one guy for it. Then you roll a D3 for mortals to kill more guys out of that squad for +1 to wound. So even if you don't make it to strength 12, if you're firing on like a T10 or T11 and you're sitting at T11, you're still wounding on 3s or 4s potentially, with potentially a good amount of attacks with AP. Sadly, only 1 damage, which is probably the worst part overall of that ability. But a lot of the lists I was looking at, again, literally last night once I got home, there was an Australian game happening that had a Warp Meld player in it. He went the route of Warp Meld blended with armor, specifically Forge Fiends, because Forge Fiends are really good still. I mean, they're a Forge Fiend. They won't not be good. The reality of the Forge Fiend from the Thousand Suns, though, is if you shoot with it, you can mark a target for -1 to hit, which is very helpful. Very helpful. Which is even more helpful now, sadly. Demon Princes are not good in Warp Meld, in my opinion. Their psychic attacks are very minimal in terms of functionality and capability. Paint over here. I think you only really want to use Demon Princes in the caster list. It's the replacement for the magic detachment from the index. It's the one where you can pick dev wounds or like all kinds of different enhancements to spell abilities, one-offs. Because in your go round, when you know you're about to deep strike a Demon Prince and another one's going to move up and go for a kill, when you know all of this, you can go, all right, dev wounds. Because Demon Princes have on their ranged attacks a really good sustained function. Oh, thanks for the follow. So yeah, Demon Princes, not as good as I was hoping for in the Warp Meld detachment. And literally the only reason I was completely cool dropping the Winged Demon Prince. I already assumed the Winged Demon Prince wasn't going to be good. But the biggest hit for me actually comes from the Glamour nerf on the on-foot Demon Prince. If Glamour wasn't an infantry-only ability, I'd be actually kind of happy. The green, this one was painted on. Sometimes I airbrush it. What I do with it is I try to apply a white. If you can get a good white that's thin, I use So Flat Titanium. Pro Acryl white is really good. Once you're done getting the base paints on, you go to the areas where you have the greens and you hit it with the white. Then what I do, once it's cured or dry, I apply a layer of fluorescent yellow. You can do this either with So Flat or High Flow. High Flows, that's all perfectly fine. This is extremely bright, as you can see. And then I do specifically High Flow green. I don't do So Flat green. High Flow green is very flowy and smooth, so it creates like a cloudy effect. Or you can sort of blend it, depending. It's just easier to blend. And yeah, it's just super bright green. And it's blacklight reactive too. Oh, nice. You got the Typhon box wait, did they announce the pre-order and then just immediately put it out? Was that something they did? Because that's psychotic. Do another brush up layer of word bearer. Try to smooth it out a little more. Oh. Hopefully that actually works then, dude. Definitely double check, like, day of. There were stores that had pre-orders recently where they got called and were like, your store is only getting 3, regardless of what you do to pre-order to the store. Like, some stores get limited number of inputs, so definitely keep an eye on it, man. And good luck. I don't think I'm getting it just because I'm needing to shore up a lot of my 40k armies right now. I have to get 2 more enlightened on disc with bows. When I say 2 more, I mean 4 more, because it's 2 boxes per squad, and you want full-size squads. So I got to keep an eye out for when those go on sale, because they are currently sold out in the US. Because I do want to do it. They are the bread and butter of the warp meld at this point. 3 squads, 12 attacks each, 30 inches, hitting on 4s on average, but looking for the lethal hits. Access to precision, which makes people scared of putting leaders in front of them. AP 2, damage 2, ignore cover. What? For like 90 points or something? What? Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that any day. That's better damage output than a Hellbrute. If we finish this tank, I gotta go grab my fiends, my forges and maulers, and we'll start working on those. I'm not gonna lie, I am gonna do my Helldrakes. I'm not going to do them anytime soon. Or maybe I do. I don't know. They're not on the top of my list for updating. You guys watch the Xbox reveals today? What's up, Francois? Part of me was wondering if they were going to show us the logo for NetherRealms when they were showing off the Invincible fighting game, because it felt pretty much just like any Mortal Kombat. I was kind of surprised. Maybe it's former devs or something. end of the day, my main interest is in the Plague Tale stuff, because it looks like they're trying to expand that universe, which is kind of cool. I like the idea of it. Because I don't think, from what they showed, that this story is related to the Plague story. But it might be a different story within that universe that might not even involve necessarily the Plague Rats. It's just from this kind of like weird universe where supernatural things exist, but they exist at such a small and almost unnoticeable scale that when faced with it, most people are usually confused. Yeah, my neons are always bright. Keep them neons bright. And that Phantom's going well? This is my main army that a lot of you probably weren't around when I was painting it. Because this was way early on when I was trying to finish these guys out. But let me introduce you to my 1,000 Sons. It's a more simplified paint scheme. It's a bit more like regular for the tabletop. More what you would expect out of the 40K side of things for paint jobs. Like not a lot of special detail, but just enough where it's like, yeah, it's mine. I did this. My 1,000 Sun paint scheme is split between it's always the same gold, but I have divisions. So like you've got the red for some of the armored division and the older divisions. You've got the purple for certain caster divisions, and then the standard blue for some of the more phalanxy divisions. Yeah, the red and I wanted the red and gold on the stuff that looks pre-heresy or like older, just to give it that little bit of a feel of like they're still kind of stuck in the past a little. So yeah, a chunk of them are red, and the ones, my actual Marines, which you guys might see eventually, who are in red, they don't wear helmets, and they have floating pink skulls as their heads. So kind of the actual Ghost in the Machine situation. Even though no one sees this, I still kind of want to paint it. You trying to work up from dark to yellow, Francois? You making that mistake? Taking up that challenge? Which is a challenge of sanity, to be honest. Could make or break a man. When confronted with trying to paint yellow from a black base or life in prison, I choose life in prison. Oh, yeah, I like variants. I didn't want everyone to look exactly the same. Let me turn down the brightness. There you go. I don't know how useful a Vindicator will be in my mutant list. I might try to get my hands on another Predator Annihilator. Maybe. I have an idea for something that's a bit in between the lists I've seen, right? I've seen lists that are heavy on the mutant side with like a lot of chaos spawn and stuff, and it's really cool. But then I also saw the split list with armor, and I kind of like part of the split list with armor. Specifically the Predator Annihilator part, because I think Predator Annihilators in any detachment of Thousand Suns is like way too good. You just got to hit something with a psychic ability. Hit a vehicle with a psychic ability, and your Predator Annihilator will probably kill it. And if I can grab another one, that'd be awesome. Dude, that's so much yellow. Is that every Citadel yellow? No, I don't see flash kits. God damn, that is so much yellow. Not gonna lie though, at this point, I am really looking forward to the Knights Codex to drop. Oh yeah, dude. Or freaking. Actually, no. Okay, there is a what? Wait, what? Okay, what do you mean yellow? Do you mean like just yellow on the paint scheme, or are you talking about like what kind of yellow? Okay. So this is where coming up with interesting sort of recipes comes into play. Because what you're telling me is you want them to wear yellow. Are they going to be green skin? Which, at that point, you're going to need to do like a really dark green, I'm guessing. Okay. So start with yellow. I really wish I had a model to show you this. I might, actually. You guys care if I take a minute to possibly go look for a model that I could do a really quick workup for to show you an interesting concept for a recipe? Because there's a good chance in the back of my room right now I've got a pre-yellow or a pre-white primed model. Because I'll go do it. If it's not white primed, I'm probably going to dry brush white on it to show you. That being said, you do need to find a good white primer to do this. So let me go grab it. So this is my buddy's. He zenithal it, so maybe it won't work the way I want it to. This is from War Machine to anyone. Old War Machine. Like, if you've played War Machine, you're probably looking at this going, whoa. Okay. So when you start with white, you can do this a couple ways. You can start white, apply all over pink, and then hit with zenithal white if you have access to that. If you don't, just start with all white. Don't worry about it. It's a minor detail that is interesting later on, but that comes down to, if you got an airbrush, do that. White to pink, find like a nice bright pink, and then white again. If you can start with a nice pink primer, which there might be one, I don't know, I don't really play around with colored primers all that much. You could start there, but if you do white to pink to a zenithal white, that's good. You apply the yellow, right? You start yellow. Usually with a contrast or whatever kind of yellow you want to apply to. This is honey from Ancient. This is Ancient Honey from Speed Paint from Army Painter. So you just apply that, let it dry. Because that's kind of your overall. And the cool part with orcs is that their base, the base color of their skin is actually best from yellow. So if you find like a decent dark enough green that you like for your skin tone, try to do like one shade lighter, maybe like a little lighter. I'm just going to use straight up orc skin. This is old Army Painter Speed Paint. You can kind of go darker or lighter based on what you think you need. Like, they have a good... there's chartreuses and stuff you can get. It's nice. But let's say... I mean, there's no exposed skin on this, but we'll just do it. let's say the arm is an orc arm. You just kind of, you get the green you want and then you go over it in the green skin tones because it'll just push it. It pushes it just slightly further. This would be like a quick way for yellow armor, because then you just have to get details. You just put details between the two, right? Like orc body here. The yellow just plays into the green a bit more. After it's done drying, that's when you can kind of go back in and, you know, hit with layers and stuff. You can push it further, hit it with shaders to darken areas. And just work backwards from here. Kind of like an underpainting. And that's what kind of recipe work in 40K is. If you find a really good recipe to start with, it doesn't feel as crazy. Because a ton of people, when they approach painting in 40K, it's always like, I gotta nail the exact pigments. I gotta build from specific pigments and stuff. And when you're painting, like, if you're playing orcs, you're painting hundreds of models, you're gonna lose your mind. Finding a way to sequence it in something that's more digestible and also provides a good bit of detail and interest is usually a fun way to like approach that kind of thing. Like technically what we're doing here has been years in the making for this formula. I kind of prepped them when I was like getting into it last year. I think part of the plan was always to go back in and hit it with layer paints to try to smooth out some surfaces. Because, like, the comparison is, it's nice. Old on the right, new on the left. And the way that this blue contrast works is I don't have to fill the whole panel in edge to edge, and it leaves a dark blue ring around the outside. So it's just formula over anything else. Someone tried playing Phalanx Terminators, like bulk Terminators. I think he had 3 full squads of Terminators. Or no, he must have had 2 full squads of Terminators. The meta is not Terminator friendly right now. You'd think it would be. You'd think like Terminators would just be like pretty good in general. But man, watching Terminator squads get chewed apart very quickly and efficiently by almost anything in the game. Because it's either attacks designed to kill the Terminators, like straight up, or it's a volume of fire that Terminators cannot deny. And then there's just like one Terminator left, maybe, if they're not all dead, at the end of a shooting phase. And if you don't have anything else on the field, because Terminators are super expensive, so you have a very limited number of models beyond that, you're kind of screwed. And I think he had like a couple robots and a boatload of Terminators. So the plan right now, because we have the tournament at the end of the month at the convention, the plan for that is knights. I'm going to grab the book the Saturday before, make the list, and put it in. I'm going to attempt to test the list that week. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. But I'm not playing a 2,000 point 2.5 hour game 3 rounds in a day at a tournament. That's not happening. With this, I was thinking warp meld, because in my head I was like, maybe if I can get my hands on 12 Zangors with bows before then. Hopefully the camera's not sliding. I keep looking over and I feel like it's always slightly adjusted from where it was. Wait, what are you talking about? I thought they just did it. What was I watching? Oh, was that the Summer Games Fest Xbox thing? I'm not gonna lie, broshi. Even if it is in like 30 minutes and I could set up my stream for us to like hang out and watch it and talk about it, the fact that I'm going to have to edit it tonight into a news wave, that makes me really not want to watch it. Because everything they were showing today was like Xbox World Premieres, I thought. I know they said they were doing their direct where they were, and then they even showed off Obsidian. Yeah, I was like, wait a second. Wait, did you start the video up where it was like 30 minutes and you were just hanging out waiting for the 30-minute timer? Oh no, broshi. Oh no.
Poggers.
Oh, thanks for the subscription. Broshi, why? Yeah, we were talking about it earlier. Main thing for me is Plague Tale. I'm happy that they're expanding that universe. That developer is really good at making games, and they're not getting the recognition they deserve from like the masses. The people who play them, they know. Like, they know that the games are good. They know they're super well designed. They know they're on par with most of like the AAA or even quadruple A Sony games. And that the stories are actually really incredible. Granted, they have had their hiccups, because I'm pretty sure the which game was that? It was called Hood, I think it was. It was that multiplayer robbery game, PvP, PvE game. I'm 1,000% certain they used the assets from the first Plague Tale in that game, and I'm 1,000% certain it was on the same engine. And they were trying to use what that company made to try to make like a games as a service game. That did not end well. After I heard about that, I thought maybe that company was in trouble. Because, you know, when the funding company is like, yo, give us a good games as a service game, and then it just doesn't happen, that's usually the end of a company. So I was so worried back then. And then Plague Tale 2 dropped. So good. So yeah, things we need to change out in the list. The Demon Princes, gone. I honestly think in Thousand Sons... Honestly think in Thousand Sons, Demon Princes are only good in, I want to say, the Coven. The one that can enhance psychic abilities for a round. That is probably the only good spot for Demon Princes right now. Glamour not giving stealth to all characters in an area, or all things in an area, like it used to. Biggest downside right now to Demon Princes. Like, one of the biggest unspoken about nerfs in the game. I really hope they change their mind on it, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I am going to just make the adjustment. I was just... After putting in the effort to make a really cool looking Ogroid Thaumaturge Demon Prince so it looked like a giant Zangor, I was so looking forward to Glamour working. And then it didn't. So we just got to make the adjustment. Ooh, so smooth. So smooth, so clean. All right, let's do the little Rubric Marine. Where's my Lothran? Oh, no, it's not Lothran we're using here. Lothran was for something else. It's Crystal Blue, which hopefully I have enough of for the rest of the army, because there's a ton of things I need to do in blue. If not, I'm going to have to put an order in. Because we tried Lothran, and Lothran was way too light. There's probably a flat Thousand Suns blue that I think might be related to Crystal Blue in terms of look. So I might look back into it. What up, Rex? What you doing? But yeah, I do think the Mutilith Vortex Beasts, I do need to use them. I have to find those Zangor Enlighten with Great Bows. That will finish my list. Stupid sold out all over the US. There's a good chance I'll just drop the money straight for it. I think it's going to be like 150, 200 bucks. Feels bad. I should have did it forever ago when I had the chance. Still playing Mario Kart. Still tearing it up. Chat so quiet now. No, is it 3 o'clock? Oh my god, it's the curse of 3 p.m. Granted, it lasted a little bit longer than it normally does. I do think the Vindicator won't work in Warp Meld. That's fine. I probably shouldn't complain. I assume people are there if they're chilling. I mean, that's the best thing to do when you hobby, is to have someone next to you hobbying. So if I can provide that, that's awesome. Blue thousand sun on the back of a red Vindicator. The Xbox handheld, as according to Sean and everyone else, is literally just a ROG Ally with a button. Honestly, the fanfare behind it probably wasn't needed. We still got some time. Let's get some Forge Fiends done. Enough of this normal tank bullshit. Let's paint some big monster tanks. We might even full update the ones that I specifically have for Soulforged. And with the buff to Vashdor, we should probably work on Vashdor as well. Because I can always go back to leaning into Soulforged. Especially now that I got the Vindicator. Vindicators in Soulforged are so scary. Let's do my Forge Fiend first. Because one of my lists involves Forge Fiend overall. Which means I think we also need to brighten up the greens on it. That's going to be the annoying part with this. We need to update the flesh tone pinks, maybe? I think I'm okay with them. But the greens need to be brightened, so we got to hit it with the high flow green that I have. Oh, my plan is to do a guide for everything, Steeljack. The trick is how at this point, because at the pace I'm going with guides, Season 1 is going to be out of competitive before I'm done Season 1 with the guides. So I'm trying to find a way to do it that's faster, where I can just finish, because there's like 7 more teams that I haven't done for Season 1. There's so many teams. And I kind of want to do just like a rundown, right? Like, hit on their key points, talk quickly about their stats, make it more impactful. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, let me tell you about the Gellerpox. Do you like being close range and causing problems? Like, I want to focus kind of on that. And, no, yeah, there's 3 Vortex. All my Vortex Beasts are done. They're done. They've been done. I tried them out yesterday at the tournament. They performed bad at the first round, but that was on me, because I peeked one out like I shouldn't have. They performed interestingly in the second round. Third round, they were horrifying all the way through to the end of turn 5. I still lost, but the last game I lost by like 8 points or something. No, let me check, actually. I think, okay. Had I held on, it would have been fine, but I kind of gave up a bunch of stuff, and he flawless drawed his secondaries at the end. Like, I had most of my stuff on the field was dead, and he drew no prisoners. So it's like, oh, man. Why'd this have to happen? Because he drew a bunch of stuff early that he thought he was going to achieve, and then he just didn't achieve it at all. Yeah, we were literally 5 points in difference every round up through turn 5, and then in turn 5 he full scored and got no prisoners and killed all my units on the field that were at like 5 health all at once and just made it a problem. So there's still 3 Mutalith Vortex Beasts, and in Warp Meld you do take 3 Mutalith Vortex Beasts. You don't go like, I don't need them. No, you do. You 100% do. There's no reason not to give a strength 14 attack a +1 to wound. No reason not to. That is one of the scariest things I have hit people with at that tournament. Making it hit on 2s with rerolls, perfect. Making it wound on 2s with the potential of a command point reroll, amazing. Bare minimum 7 damage up through 12 damage. Horrifying. Granted, invulnerable save is literally like, especially a 4+ invulnerable save, it's so brutal into that because it's only one attack. But the 2 times it mattered, I rolled 6s on the wound roll and it has dev wounds. And then I rolled 6s on damage. 12 dev wounds, no armor save allowed. Oh my god. You could see the fear in people's eyes when I did that. They were like, what? And I was like, yeah, you want to see the stats? I told you, it's a really good anti-tank. Like, hitting an armiger and watching the person pick it up right after, crazy. There's so much to paint on this guy. Because the problem is, when I originally painted this, I did it in parts, technically. So, it's going to be hard to hit everything. Maybe I don't have to. But yeah, I need to get 2 full-size squads of Zangor enlightened with bows. I have 1 already. It seems in general what you want to do is have 2 screening squads with that. So you actually do 2 Exalted on disc with those units. Because then you just have 2 units sitting on the back line that can't be shot, shooting 30 inches away with things that can easily kill Space Marines and chip away at vehicles like it's nothing. You have the 3 Mutalisks walking around, and that's cool. Post-tournament, I discovered that, I think we talked about this early on, but you guys all kind of showed up. Post-tournament, I discovered that this is a sorcerer. He's in Terminator armor, sure, but he's a sorcerer in his keywords. So this can become a Bray Lord, which means I can give him permanent uppy downy for the entire game, so long as the squad he is in lives. He can just go around painting things uppy downy style with +1 to hit. So if somebody moves forward on a side and I can position this guy so there's no retaliation, he just pops in with his squad, hits it, everything looking at it, kills it. At the end of my opponent's next fight phase, as long as nothing's within 6 inches of him and his squad, he's gone. He's back in the wind. Maybe he scores some points while doing it. I don't know. I know the squad gets rid of his deep strike, but for a command point, he gets his deep strike back. And he gets it from 6 inches. He gets a 6-inch deep strike instead of a 9. He can't charge, but when it comes to being somewhere and scoring or denying points, it could be useful to have a 6-inch deep strike. Especially when you consider the possibility of getting rid of people's ability to score. This is something I think is going to be a problem in the current rules and iteration of the game with the cards. I need to still get mine, but to my understanding, things like sabotage, things like recover assets, That ends at the end of your turn now. And I get, in some regard, that's like, it feels more fun, right? Like, it's like, instant gratification. There's no counterplay anymore. There's just no counterplay. I think this is actually a mistake on Games Workshop's behalf, is by making it so that missions you have to do and hold for a little bit no longer need to be held. It's just, oh, you get it. So the game becomes about writing lists where you can hold the areas that opponents are going to try to get to, and that's it. Like, you can't counter with, like, waiting somewhere. When I was playing in a tournament, like, last month, 2 months ago, something like that, that was when I was using my Helldrakes, and my opponent sent his gargoyles forward into a base to sabotage it just slightly into no man's zone, that's how you do it. I sent my Helldrake to counter kill them. My Helldrake pretty much died right after, but I completely annihilated his ability to get points that turn. If they got rid of the having to do something through an opponent's like side for their turn, for side missions, I don't know, man. That seems like a waste. Honestly, I would have doubled down on it. Imagine having to cleanse objectives and needing to hold that objective until the end of your opponent's turn. People seem excited by the new pacing of the missions, but I don't know. From my own perspective, it's like, I kind of wish there was counterplay. I like the counterplay of it. I mean, everything's always trash. That's the problem with our nerd culture. It's not about just kind of solving it and trying to find the rhythm in it. It's just about being like, it's different, so it's garbage. The amount of people who are calling 10th edition trash, despite 10th edition being one of the most popular editions that have ever existed, and still growing in popularity to this day, it's like, all right. Speaking of rules, was there verification that Chaos Knights are still allyable? Did they ever say that? I never actually read their community posts. I just look at them, I glance, and I go, that's cool. And then I move on. I move on with my life. I go do other things. Because I still have not heard people say anything about the allies. I skimmed through the Aspect Tactics video. There sounded like some cool concepts. But I didn't see him mark anything about allies down. I know he said something about demon allies into Chaos Knights. So I guess that's still happening. Or is there going to be a detachment that can only take battle line demons or something? Because again, it does feel a lot like they're trying to get rid of that stuff. No, I agree with you. But player retention's also better. Like, that's the big thing, player retention. And player retention is a lot better right now. Especially compared to the last season, where it's like, hey man, learn these 100 stratagems. Which to every new player feels terrible until you realize you only need to know like 2 or 3 stratagems. Because I do agree with you in terms of, like, with the video game stuff that I do, with that podcast, the constant notation for success to me is always, oh, this is how many copies sold. Which always, to me, is like, cool, that's great that they made a bunch of people think they wanted to buy something they've never tried. Hopefully the PR company got their bonus checks. Because that's the real magic of the video game market. Having a company that exists exclusively to sell you something you don't need solely on hearsay and random concepts and videos. At least until your video game's a household name. Then you kind of have a cushy job. I feel like we're maybe like 5 years away from people who go to live 40K tournaments and stuff, like live streamed ones. Because the live streaming side of it, they do seem to be trying to push it a bit. I don't I don't feel like it's gonna get to that like mainstream level. Like I feel like esports is gonna be well beyond it for years. But I feel like we might be a few years away from somebody showing up to a tournament wearing one of those like soccer jerseys that everyone wears now at them that has like brands on it. Like, oh yeah, the tactics guys, they're currently sponsored by such and such company. So they hit all those live streams. They're always up there in their jersey and they've got the patch on them. Qatar Air. Be completely like wild too. Like, ah, they're sponsored by Sainsbury's. this team, sponsored by Mike's Mufflers. Like, I'm not gonna lie, if a local baseball league, like, there's a baseball field maybe a couple miles from here that's only for local baseball games. Like, it's not a stadium, it's a field. It's just a field built for baseball, kind of kept up, but not really. Sort of like, it's okay. And that is a field that is sponsored by maybe 6 local companies. They just have a little stuck up ad on the wall. That's the thing they're trying to do, though. They're trying to make them a little more entertaining. Like, not War Games Live and, like, any of the other ones that I've seen that are live streams of professional games. Those are put together with just the game in mind, right? Like, it's just like, oh, here's the game. Occasionally there's conversation and chatter. I think that's where War Games Live has, like, a lot of its appeal, is that he'll sit there and he'll just kind of talk. Like, it's almost like conversation while a game's going on, which allows nerds to sort of, like, rag on stuff happening. Or even just, like, make little jokes here and there. And that's sort of entertaining for them. I know the Warhammer company is attempting to almost shoutcast it in a way. Not really shoutcast. Sort of like modern baseball radio casting and stuff. Because, like, you want to talk about something boring to watch. If baseball can have as big of a fan base as it has right now, to watch people stand around until someone throws a ball for a person with a stick to hit it, I feel like dice rolls in a game of 40K with people conversing a lot about stats and percentages, and I think there's a market for it. Honestly, I think there is.
Poggers.
Me personally, I would rather watch the Robot Wars friggin' game that, or is that even televised anymore? The robot fighting, like, I think it was, BattleBots. There it is. Is BattleBots still on TV? I thought it went, like, underground or something. Maybe it's only streamed. Because I want to say that was a Spike TV thing. That was either Spike or Comedy Central that did BattleBots. Oh, I loved watching BattleBots. It was so stupid. Just random jets of fire, buzzsaws coming out from underneath a platform. So stupid. Yeah, Spike TV. That has to be, like, streamed only somewhere. I wonder if it's a Twitch stream now. Because I know MXC has a 24-hour Twitch stream. Unless they got rid of it. Like, I once put on Most Extreme Elimination Challenge live on Twitch and just let it run for a whole day while I was getting work done. I've seen shorts of it on YouTube when I'm going down my distraction hole trying to go to sleep, and I'm just like, let me see what YouTube's going to show me. Let me hit them dopamine receptors. Occasionally it's like, check out this BattleBots clip. This guy built a tube and it apparently is winning everything. No one knows how. I might try Warp Meld with 2 Forge Fiends and an Annihilator first. Because again, my issue with the Demon Princes not giving the -1 aura to everyone kind of gets circumvented by 2 Forge Fiends. Oh, dude, hell yeah, BattleBots. Where are all these new people in my chat? What's going on? Did I say BattleBots and YouTube was like, yo, we're putting this in front of people? Yeah, but where can I watch it live? I wonder if they have a deal on YouTube. Normally when I'm on the treadmill here, my TV's on and it's usually running something from YouTube or Twitch. Toss on some MST3K and just let her rip. See, I do like the update. I was worried adding the flats would annoy me in terms of visual, but I do think it improves it. Having that brighter surface just feels better. This is Vallejo Gold airbrushed over black. Vallejo Gold is so good. I'm so happy Vallejo got through their there's this whole thing where, you know, they were sick and tired of not being considered humans that need living wages. Oh, the lavender's fine. I mean, it's just options. I like it. I think it's fine, personally. Especially if you leave the edges dark. And this is technically Gene Stealer. It was between Gene Stealer and Lavender. I tried Lavender, and Lavender was so light. So wildly light. So I rolled it back to Gene Stealer. I was thinking Xerius, but I don't know. Yeah, I looked it up. Apparently it got resolved. Because I was worried. Because Vallejo is a good airbrush and general paint company, honestly. So to see that they were like, awesome. We get to actually, you know, have benefits and not feel like we have to work until we're 1,000 years old to make a living. And have a retirement option. It's good to know that our bosses realized that if all of us stop working, they stop making money. Oh yeah, it's the best. Not everyone likes purple on things. I'm just glad it doesn't look super bad. Like, goddamn, when I was trying to add lavender to it, it was almost white. Looks so weird. Take a look at something. Hell yeah. This is Kool-Aid purple, bro. That kind of purple where you know it's grape flavored, but chemically infused. We used these 10 20-letter chemicals to simulate the flavor of grape. Enjoy. So yeah, my reaffirmed list might have 2 of these. In the Thousand Suns list, whatever they hit gets -1 to hit. That's going to be huge because I want that. I want to be able to be like, all right, the thing I'm worried about is at -1 to hit for the rest of the turn. Now, granted, I would rather have more Annihilators, so I might go check the local store tomorrow to see if they have another Predator. And we might make another Predator, chat. Because Thousand Sun Predator Annihilator is way too good. Honestly, absolutely worth it. I think they're good-ish replacements for the Enlightened on disc. I would much rather have the full, I think 18 Enlightened on disc for my list. Because it's just, I don't know, it feels better. Maybe one day they'll come back in stock in the U.S. What are you talking about? You can. What you can't is the pluses and minuses. They always equal out to 1 or nothing. But you can stack buffs. You can't stack auras. But like Soulforged. In Soulforged, you can get your detachment buff. You can get the buff that's provided by the Warpsmith. You can get the buff that's provided by Tempting Addendum. You can get the buff provided by Vashdor. All stacked into a single unit. And then just chuck a massive bomb down the field. You could even command point buff for the extra AP. Actually, that makes me a little bit torn, now that I'm thinking about it. I could take Knights to this tournament at the end of the month. But with the Vashdor buffs, I actually kind of want to take Vashdor. I want to take my Soulforged again. With the Vindicator now, I can make the Vindicator a demon and then just unload ridiculous amounts of damage downfield with it. Reroll hits, +1 to wound. Lethal sustained from the Hellbrute. I do think they are missing a couple interesting, maybe counterplay abilities. That might be a big thing that needs to come back to 40k. Imagine being able to shut down people's detachment rule within a certain range of a character, right? Just being like, you don't have access to your detachment rule within this range. Or being able to... Because I know they have the command point one. That's already built in, which is kind of cool. But I had this thought coming home after the tournament that... I know everyone's like, Battle Shock's not that interesting, right? Imagine if Battle Shock turned off your abilities as well. Not only your abilities, but potentially your weapon abilities too. Like, think about that. I've Battle Shook you at the top of the fight phase that I charged with my Demonettes, because that's what Demonettes do. They force your opponent to take a Battle Shock at -1 at the top of the fight phase. And because I've done this, you now don't have access to fights first, lethal hits, you know, like any of your other stuff. And it's like, uh-oh. Oh no, this was a bad thing. This is going to end poorly for me. I think that could end up being kind of cool. Maybe a little oppressive, but still kind of cool. It'll make all of the Battle Shock armies a lot more interesting. Because it's still a gamble. You could put your whole gamble on whether or not you completely shut down a unit's ability for the rest of the turn. And then it's like, yep, I win now. Your thing doesn't stop me. At the very least, what they should do is make it so that if somebody's performing an action that could be broken, Battle Shock can break it, not just killing. No, yeah, NIDS would pop the hell off. They might have to change how NIDS work. Because the reality is they could just declare with NIDS, oh, you take a leadership check, and if you fail it, you can't use ploys or you lose your OC or something. Then it's like basic Battle Shock at that point. But then the more enhanced ones for things like the Night Lord detachment and CSM and stuff like that, that gets to play more with like, oh, you no longer have your fights first. You no longer have your reactive move. You know, whatever. Yeah, you can Oath of Moment me, but all your Battle Shook models don't get the benefit from it. You know, that kind of stuff. It happens so little, though. That's the thing. They'll complain when they lose a match because of a failed Battle Shock test. I agree they will. But again, a core problem with some of the balance in the game is you do have detachments like what is it, Vanguard, with all the special characters that do double oath and like, you know, you get the +1 wounds and all that. A detachment like that, you don't really need to use command points. Let's be real. Using them is great and all. Armor Contempt if they have it. I can't remember if they have it. Or just like the general gist of uppy downy and stuff that they have access to. It's cool, but you don't necessarily need it. The fact that Vanguard, I think, provides stealth outside of a certain range for enemies shooting at them, and then Space Marines in general is just like, yo, +1 to wound, and mass amounts of rerolls. Like, okay. I don't need anything in this detachment. Don't even tell me my ploys. And there's some detachments like that. I've started to notice that with Carnival. Carnival, you kind of want to save up your command points to, at one point in time, uppy downy demons, and that's about it. I mean, I could shade it. I'm not looking to render, though. That's why I'm trying to leave the edges open. I'm trying to leave the edges open a bit. That way the contrast that's under it, that's already super dark, still kind of plays into it. If I want to go crazy, I think almost every panel that I have on every model in this game I will hit with a shade glaze. But at this point, I just want this to get to like stage 2 of my army's paint scheme idea. You know, we got the busy work done, getting the base tones in.
Poggers.
Now we're doing the flats over some of the base underpainting. to build it up on some panels a little more than others, it looks like. No, yeah. We can do that. I mean, it all comes down to what ends up happening once this is... Like, I've got hundreds of units to get through to get to this point before I start thinking, like, oh, let's start doing some fun shaders or glazes to, like, give them some extra oomph. What else do we got? We got these two Forge Fiends. We got the Mauler Fiend. We got... I don't think I want to work up my Defiler. We've got the two Helldrakes we're going to do at the end, because I don't think they're going to be that important to get done anytime soon. We've got 60 Rubric Marines. We have Sorcerers that not only do I need to take them off of their bases and move them to 40s, but we still have 2 more Sorcerers to paint, 3 Exalteds, I think 3 Exalteds on disc. $25 Terminators. Technically, okay, so 25, 24, 20, 23 Terminators. Helldrakes have their place. They're definitely overcosted. For a lot of people, they're still kind of scary. It's definitely a weird trade, because it's like something... How many points is it right now? It's like 100 something. That trade that I did a few tournaments ago of Helldrakes into Gargoyles to prevent sabotage from going off. That was cool for the points, sure. But the finale was like a squad of Gargoyles is what, like 80? Meanwhile, let me go check Thousand Suns. Data sheets. $215 points. I traded 215 points for like a 90-point squad and, 2-3 victory points? Honestly, Helldrake should probably be 120. Keep them frail. Don't make them strong or durable. Keep them frail. But just make them 120. They take up too much space. They're obnoxious in their own ways. But I've watched one die to, like, friggin' guard fire. It's not great. And then the one thing I need is for Games Workshop to clarify if I can put allies under the wings of my Helldrake. Just tell me that. Give me clarity. End of the day, I could glaze Xerius onto this, like the slightly darker purple, and I could just work it up from the bottom. Two-tone might be good, though. Two-tone might be good. Like how I use the purple shader on my magenta and blue knights. Speaking of which, we also have to do a lot of my knights as well. Yeah, and the issue is with their size, maps don't make it easy for them to move around. At least not right now. The current rules that allow you to pass through things with models that have overhang is explicit to monsters. I think tournaments say they don't care that much, and that vehicles that overhang a lot on top of a base like a Helldrake can do it. But that's on the tournament whether it's going to do it or not, which means you can't really have a constant list with that vehicle on it. But yeah, like 140, 150 maybe. Not 200. 200 is... ugh. It's so bad. You cut that thing down to 140, I'll field both of mine. My 140 point trade missile. Hell, I'll buy one for the EC to watch someone look on in fear as an EC Helldrake advances on top of 20 inches and is still able to shoot and charge. I still love that some of these codexes are glimpses into an idea that they've had. No, yeah. But, okay, so codexes, like I'm saying, they're sort of a glimpse into how codexes are supposed to work, right? The Emperor's Children Codex said that the Helldrake was an armor of 2. And I think somewhere in playtesting, they were trying to make Helldrakes worth the 200 points. Because if you made my Helldrake have a 2+ regular save, maybe it's worth the points at that point. Maybe. But then they corrected it shortly after the codex came out. They were like, no, 3. It's going to be interesting to see Knight's list. I can't... I'm either doing... Okay. Tournament at the end of the month. Soulforged, Thousand Suns Armor Division, or Chaos Knights. I don't know which one I want to do. The only reason I want to do any of those is because it's way less units to move around on the field. Like, spoilers to anyone that's ever seen my Soulforged detachment that runs 3 squads of cultists, 2 of which are inside of rhinos. I know on average people will be like, yeah, they got to be in the rhinos to be durable. That gives them a few rounds of being near an objective. If somebody kills the rhino, if the rhino dies at the end and they don't have any more shooting or anything close, you can just put the cultists out of it and then still hold the objective, and that's really powerful. That's not why I do it. It's good, but that's not why I do it. I do it because I don't want to move 20 cultists around the field on my front line. That's why I do it. I put the 10 on my home objective and I spread them out in turn 1. And then beyond that, I've got 2 rhinos just jetting across the field with 10 cultists in it that I pray to the gods you don't kill, so I don't have to put cultists on the field. I'll spend command points on that smoke. I'll absolutely command point reroll that failed armor save. You are not making me put cultists on this table. The guy I was playing against at the place all the way up north for me, that's like an hour and a half away. The last time I played Soulforged, at the end of the match, when I was just staring at the field. I had a rhino with a full contingent of cultists in it. I had like nothing left. His death shroud had basically chewed through most of my armor at that point. I couldn't stop them. I unloaded so many plasma cannons into him and watched nothing happen. He got such good rolls on his invulns and everything. It was so bad for me. And it was end of the game, and I was like, alright, I guess I'm stuck here. And I feel like he got mad at me, because he was like, dude, you could just take stuff out of your rhino and run it at this objective over here for points. And I was like, don't make me put cultists down, man. Do not make me have to move 20 bodies or 10 bodies across the field. I don't want to do it. You can't make me do it. This is game 3. I'm so burned out. What do you mean? That just whatever you roll gets doubled? I mean, that's kind of 2d6 flamers. At the very least, you get the chance at rolling something interesting. What I want is Torrent Blast. Give me Torrent Blast. I think that would be wild. Like the Dark Flamer on Knights. Give me 2d6 plus 3 Torrent Blast. And just make it heavy flamer profile. I'll be fine. Oh, you actually still have to see if it crits. Maybe. I almost... what they could do a mechanic where when you're trying to find out the number of attacks of something that auto hits, let's say you roll a 6 they consider it a crit roll for the number of attacks, and then maybe it like adds a number to it, or even like just goes straight up like, you rolled a 6, double the 6. Like, give me those true gambling swings. This dice will either hit you 1 through 5 and then 12. You know, like crit tests. I shouldn't have chickened out on my EC for this last tournament. Ugh. I made the mistake of messaging one of the other people that was going to it. Because I couldn't remember if the 9 o'clock start time was like, you have to be here before 9 to be ready. So I was just trying to verify with him if he'd been there before. And then mid-conversation, he was like, what you bringing? I was like, I'm bringing my EC with the adjustment that we decided upon was probably better for that list with actually running Fulgrim instead of Lucius. Specifically because his base size is big enough that it's easier to put Slaanesh Demons near it to give him the crits on 5. And he went, oh, but the Thousand Suns Codex came out. I was like, I know. Didn't you want to run a Zangor's list? Immediately got to talking about my ideas, and then him being like, oh, you should just run that list. And that was it. Brainworm in. I changed it the night before. I had my old EC list in, and then the night before I was like, I'm going to do Thousand Suns. I shouldn't have, because I knew a lot of people were going to bring Thousand Suns. Everyone always, in every tournament, there's always that one person who's like, new codex, I'm making an army. Let me just buy a ton of models and see how this works. Go to a tournament. I probably should have looked into thoughts and processes on the army before building my list. I would have known I didn't have enough. Then I could have just went armored division maybe. I've got the stuff for armored division. Alright. What's up, Kill Team Hungry? We are updating my Thousand Suns. Kind of going to the next stage beyond where I painted them before. Where we're basically applying flats over top of all of the contrast paint we did over the metal. Sort of brightening up the army a little bit. I know my list is not better. I know the Demon Princes don't fit. So the adjustment's already there. Like, that's the thing. When I got back from the tournament, my brain immediately went, I need more Enlightened on disc, because statistically they're just insanely good for how many points they are. And I already kind of formulated it. And then I had that moment of like, all right, let me see what others are doing. And that's where I saw the 50-50 mutation armor list. And then I saw the full mutation list, but with slightly different focus than what I was doing, which I actually liked. Because that was immediately after the whole, oh, Sorcerer can take Brayherd moment for me. I was like, that's kind of cool. And then I realized what that meant. And then I saw someone else doing it, and it just reaffirmed my opinion. So some of the tweaks were already there. The thing I'm still not 100% settled on is the excessive use of more shaman, basically. I do think maybe with my mutation list, the adjustment I want to make, definitely the Demon Prince is out. I might try to lean into armor with these guys. Oh, the music we usually listen to? It's over on Twitch. And it's not... Actually, no, this is lo-fi today. I can't play music on YouTube. I've tried. Every time I try, they occasionally hit me with, yo, here's a strike for your channel. Here's us giving you a warning. And it's like, all right, thanks. So we're multi-streaming today. I might run an Annihilator, though. I have to reassess, because without the two Demon Princes, we actually alter our points a lot. Without the Sorcerer, I also alter it further, because Sorcerers are like 90 points. So if I'm leaning into just Terminator Sorcerer and he takes the Bray Lord, I should have enough points to play around with to be backed. No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it's even more so. Like, okay, before in the index, it was pretty cool. It was an interesting idea. It was definitely an interesting idea. It was very cheap. It had some niche potential to just rip characters out of squads. And that was pretty legit. I've done incredible things with it. I actually adjusted the course of people's gameplay. Do you want me to just hum? I've heard that people who have hummed tunes have also been hit with things if the tune is very recognizable and very copyright restricted. I might try to find a way for you guys to get some kind of background music that people on Twitch can't hear, but I don't know how to do that right now. Because technically you guys are getting audio channel 2. Twitch could get audio channel 1. And if I have another song on 2 that maybe I don't hear, but you guys do hear somehow, maybe that'll help. YouTube is they don't want to deal with copyright claims. But yeah, like, Zangor on disc with bows were already in my mind, like, really good. Honestly, the extra 6 I purchased, I shouldn't have made into spearmen. Spearmen suck. They have an interesting idea in the demons detachment, but it's not enough, I don't think. Like, spearmen were not the play. But yeah, you can chill, hang out on YouTube. I'll still chat. I see you. You'll see the you got the chat up here, so you can see what everyone's saying between the two systems. You can swing over to Twitch if you want to listen to music and chill, or you can just put on your own music and chill. I'm fine with either. Crack into your own playlist. Yeah, I mean, I could run them as archers, but I want them to look like archers too. The archer models look nice. I might have the parts, but I don't know how easy it would be for me to, like, tear apart the spearmen and switch them over to archers. And at the same time, who knows? One day there might be a detachment that drops or a rules change, and all of a sudden spearmen are actually kind of worth it. The reality is, if they increase the quality of the spear to the same output potential as a bow on a flat line beyond lance and the charge mortals, I'd probably be okay with it. I think that would be about what the points need to be, honestly. Boom. kind of want to finish these Terminators that I have over here. Oh, we also have to hit these with green, actually. Let me hold off. If we end up doing either Soul Forged or the Armor Detachment, that means I do need to kind of push a little bit. Because I think we have, what, 2 weeks before I gotta go to that convention, and I would want most of my stuff to be updated. There's a chance. I think if I hybridized the Mutant Detachment enough involving Forge Fiends and stuff, there's a chance that might actually be playable at 2.5 hours. Dinner with neighbors. All right, have fun, man. I will say it did feel really good to go to a tournament without a named character on my list. And that's not like a flex or anything like that. It's just like, I don't know. It felt good to be at a game where I was like, there is actually no spot in this list where this named character would be useful. Like, Ahriman can lead a squad of Zangors. He provides them nothing. Specifically, Zangor Enlightened. I mean, Magnus is Magnus, but, like, what benefit does my list give Magnus? If you're going to rock Magnus, you might as well go the magic-based, I think, Coven. I can never remember what it's called. It's the new detachment of magic. Yeah, there's too many lists right now that are must-play for characters. So going to a table with a Thousand Sons army that was like, there's no named characters, and having it feel like it could have done something with some minor tweaks. And then afterwards seeing others who are also running the same detachment with the same idea. No need for named characters. It feels kind of good. I mean, what does Ahriman bring? 3 units of redeploy. Don't care. Magnus has a 2-inch move aura for people. Good. But the new Cult of Magic is definitely Demon Princey, Magnus-ish, maybe. Honestly, if they could make named characters as kind of like niche and specific as they just made Ahriman, I think that'd be in a good spot. Because, like, he's not an auto include, but his benefit is kind of useful in some situations. He's also not like a slouch statistically, but he doesn't really provide squads he joins anything. Like, he doesn't come with the... What was it? Before it was, like, +1, I want to say, to something. I'm trying to remember what he was. I think he was +1 to wound. Which is how he was able to, like, cook... No, he was something else. It was... Because the squad was him... with a bunch of flamers, and he would just appear next to a vehicle. He would free cast the armor destruction, and then they would microwave a tank that's on an objective to death. I think he was +1 to wound, though. Yeah, I think he's +1 to wound. Because that was the trick, because it was just a bunch of flamers wounding vehicles on 5s, and the vehicle couldn't make armor saves. That was way too good. Now he's just 3 redeploys. And a decent attack. Not overly interesting. It is a little weird though, because Magnus used to be like massively important for your team because of the whole +1 hit, +1 wound concept. Massively important. And now he's not. He feels a bit closer to Fulgrim in terms of like kind of being selfish and not really providing too much outside to the team. Outside of just being like a powerhouse of combat. And to a degree, I thought that's where they were going with it. But then if you consider all the things that Mortarion can do now, providing his team so much reactionary potential, it's like, oh, okay. It's still going to be a thing. Halfway done the green update on this guy. Thankfully, the Mauler Fiend, I put him together and painted him after I changed my formula for the glow. So I'll only really have him to do. I think when we start working on touching up the knights that I have access to, there's a lot that need this green update. Thankfully, I used a good enough yellow that the green won't be that big of a deal. Because the yellow base for it is already nice. Super nice. We'll have to double check the VOD for Twitch when it's done to see if the music's still picked up. It was still picked up last time, which is okay, because I think some of the music we listened to isn't really copywritten in that kind of way. But I still want to make sure that the VODs are clear of music. Just for future copyright issue potential. There's nothing worse than what happened with, who was it? It was... Oh, why am I forgetting his name? I don't watch him as much as I used to. Oh, why does your name elude me? Maximilian. There it is. I just had to stop staring at what I was painting, look at something else, let it come back to me naturally. Maximilian, dude. He had that whole series that he put a ton of hours into where he paid for the music for it. And then a company purchased the music rights from the company he purchased the rights from. And then somehow that meant he no longer had a contract, so they just struck like everything he made. wild times. That apparently happened for the Spawncast for a while, because I was looking for music for the intro and outro for the Spawncast, and then John was just like, here, use this. And he just found something on a website called Ben Sound or something. One of their just like, hey, anyone can use it, free stuff, you know, whatever. And then I guess someone bought the rights to the song or something, or they bought the rights to some element of the song, and then started just striking all of our old Spawncasts. Because the thing is, I told him when we were first doing it, I was like, no, we shouldn't pull from these places. Literally because of the Maximilian Dude issue. Like, that's where I was coming from with that. He was like, nah, it'll be fine. Nope. Alright. Green update complete as well. Him back there. Got these three for now. What time is it? 5. F. Oh, you're referring to something else. Don't scare me like that. I immediately thought everything was down. You know how my brain's wired. People saying F when they shouldn't say F. Yeah, it's fine, Brushy. I'm not that worried about it. It does feel like a streamer thing, though. Like a wired streamer thing. They see F's in chat. It's immediately just like, uh-oh. Check the stream metrics. Make sure there's no drop frames. Oh, my back. Can I mod from multi-chat, or do I have to do... No, I can't. What about the docs? YouTube chat. I feel like I'm still going to have chats up to moderate. Ugh. It's not a super big deal. Just a slight annoyance. Alright, let's try to get these Terminators done. Not that I would ever use them, especially outside of a phalanx list. Get him, Broshi. Oh, Jesus. You're watching both chats? God damn, man. Are you modded on the YouTube side? I don't think I gave too many people mod, if anyone, on my channel. On the YouTube side. I also don't think I'd want to do that to someone, to just be like, hey, mod 2 channels at the same time. I barely want to do it with one when I'm doing the Spawncast stuff. So much of me wants to ban so many people over there. But that's just the level of me being like, I really don't like low effort posters. So I try to let it ride. I do ascribe a bit to the idea that curating chat is actually kind of part of the overall content creation experience. I think Chief 114 or 1114 talked about that for like a little bit. I think people will like the games that were shown off at the Xbox Showcase. I can't wait for us to talk about it at some point. Maybe on the Spawncast and have people be like, these guys hate Xbox. I've tried to curate so hard to just get people to recognize that, like, we're just here to talk about games, bro. Don't need you ascribing ideologies to people who are just like, hey, let's talk about video games. We still get it. It's so crazy. Dude, let's not hype, Arturo. Let's not. I think the last time we hyped was Goremonger, or the community rather, not us in general, but the community. The last time we hyped it was the Goremonger versus Sanctifier one, where everyone was like, oh yeah, Grey Knight's Demons. And then it was Goremonger and friggin' Sanctifier, and everyone was like, oh no. Ashes of Faith 2.0. I mean, I don't have a direct, I guess, built-in thought on what it could be. I do personally hope, now that we've got NIDS, I personally hope we see something related to Grey Knights. Because, okay, Armies of the Imperium is a thing. That has Deathwatch in it. It also has Grey Knights. So there might be a reality where there's going to be a special squad made for specifically Agents of the Imperium that feels like a unique unit involving potentially Deathwatch and Grey Knights. Maybe. So that could end up being an interesting unit. And then I do hope we see something that's like straight up demons. Like some kind of interesting, unique squad. The trick is, I don't think we're going to see anything demons. It does feel like Games Workshop is pulling away from demons as like an interesting standalone detachment. And they don't really want... like characters anymore. For most of the demon detachments. They seem to be wanting to relegate that to like AOS. But maybe a refresh. Like, one might be a specialty, one might be a refresh. Honestly. Like, if there's some demon faction where it's like, oh, these models have been around forever, or something from this faction needs a refresh. If anything, I personally hope it's a Tzeentch demon new unit. Because at this point, Soul Grinders were legended, right? They're still legended. Like, that wasn't just like a mistake, or... I think one of the things that happened at one point where they got pulled off of the index, but then they were put back in when the codex dropped. Just straight up legended. So at this point, Zinch demons don't have a thing that's like really good at something. Instead, they're okay at anti-infantry, and that's about it. They don't really have a pull through. Even with screamers for anti-tank, anti-monster, it's really not enough. Battle for Armageddon. I think the season is still on Vulcus because that's what they do now. They just kind of close in on Vulcus. Because I could have swore the Tyranid stuff was an expansion for Vulcus. Maybe it's more general expansion. I might want to redo this cape. Maybe. I kind of don't want to touch it since it's got the flame decaling at the bottom. Yeah, maybe Grey Knight. Like, what if there is a unit that's like something like 5 or 6, maybe even 7, almost like Deathwatch neophytes? Because don't Deathwatch have like scouty style units? And then you just toss like one Grey Knight leader in. And you get maybe like a, almost like a blooded but Grey Knight style thing. Could have swore Deathwatch did scouts as Deathwatch. Because anyone serves, I think, on Deathwatch, right? The whole appeal of Deathwatch is that they break down the border of opinions on tactics and codex. Right? Like, that was kind of the thing people really fell for, or fell in love with the Deathwatch, was the idea that when you see multiple different factions of Space Marines on the field, they're being raised into what they know best. So, like, oh, you're really good at siege, and you know how to fortify an area, and you think that's the way to win wars, but I'm all about running at my enemy and being better at them in melee, and therefore that's how you win wars. And then they just paint all their armor the same color, so you have no idea who anyone is and where they really hail from. And then it's just like the true jack of all trades army that is able to do anything. You create the right team for the right moment, for the right enemy, and you just send them in and win. And that's how it works. You go with your chapters for the competition, and then you go with Death Watch to show what that competition created. So I imagine scouts could get put on Death Watch for some reason or another. Or like some neophyte style Black Templar unit.
Poggers.
I wonder if we stream games when Plague Tale comes out. Maybe I'll figure out how to get the audio run properly. So I can have a listening headphone for 2 computers. Run the audio so you guys get the audio feed for the game. Yeah, Terminator Squad lead. They do look a lot better in the crisper blue. So I guess the real question is, can I get, if the store near me has a Predator, could I get it, build it, and paint it to the quality that I want before the next tournament? Because I do think without the Zangor Enlightened, which I'm just gonna have to assume I'm not getting, the Great Bow Enlightened that I want. If I backline my field with las cannon Predators, maybe there's something there. Have like 2 las cannon Predators, 2 Forge Fiends, 3 Mutilith Vortex Beasts, and then we go ham on like regular units. I could go up to 70 Zangor. We do the Terminator, Sorcerer Lord, Bray Lord. Nope. It is Osserman blue for these. You could do a purple. Purple over top, or blue over top of purple is really nice. You'd have to build it up a little better than I am. I'm kind of just going in. Just filling her out. But it's Osserman blue over top of gold, which the yellow and blue would kind of push it a little bit, maybe closer to sort of a purple. I think it's more of a green. I don't know. It's just a really dark blue. That's the gist of it. I think it's going to be real interesting when we do this Mauler Fiend. The Mauler Fiend is one of the few tanks I put together that has blue armor paneling. Most of them are purple or red. Yeah, that's the trick. When you're doing this, when you take this approach, don't go to the edges. Don't go all the way to the outside of the panel. You're not trying to fill the area. You're trying to sort of hit the middle bracket spots. That way the really dark, like blue, helps it out a lot. It's kind of the same way with the purple. I can grab my Demon Prince in a second and show it off. I basically flat paneled purple. I left a lot of the darker part though on this. I'm starting to become convinced that certain models that I run make my dice roll better. So at the tournament, 3 games over the course of a whole day, like 9 hours about. I want to say that my Mutalith Vortex Beasts rolled more 6s on their one-off wound rolls than anything I've seen in like my lifetime. Now I didn't win, because like doing that occasionally doesn't win you a game. But the fact of the matter was there were at least 6 or 7 instances over the course of the games where I landed my hit, I felt good, and then I rolled a 6 on the wound for the devs, and then I rolled a 6 immediately again for the wound count. Emperor's Children is rough, for me at least, because I don't want to run Coterie. Apparently Coterie is the solved thing, because Coterie provides the benefits you actually want to make that team work. Personally, I think I'd rather get really good at the strategic side of the game and then run Mercurial, because Mercurial has a lot of mobility tricks, has a lot of like just fun little things that get you around, can circumvent enemy rules. It's just nice. I feel like it's pretty good. But otherwise, mostly how people play Emperor's Children is Coterie. You have a bunch of sacrificial infractor squads. Those infractors build up your points so that you can get to the point where you have like all these rerolls and all these benefits. And then they die. And then you just have a bunch of units that are like critting on 5s, rerolls of 1s. And it's just crazy. But when it comes to the detachments I want to play, there's interesting ideas, but they just don't fit points-wise to like being able to play the game properly. Like if you want to run the transport detachment, you do need 2 land raiders, I think, in my opinion. You actually might not even want Demon Prince with wings, even though those are some of the strongest in the game. And I think your focus might end up being on like a really big squad of or a really big squad of infractors with a Exultant in one Land Raider, and then Lucius with a bunch of Flawless Blades in another. And then a bunch of Rhinos just filled with random stuff. Noise Marines, Tormentors, Infractors, MSU, large squads. Just kind of make it a whole thing. I don't think that wins a ton of games, because I mean you're relying on 4 total las cannons, I think, right? I think it's like 4 las cannons. No, it's 4 per, right? So it's 8 total las cannons to manage armor and monsters, and then you just kind of hope to finish them. I think in that list you have like 1 go round, because once you come out of the transport the first time, it takes too long to get back in the transport to re-trigger your bonuses. Only 1 transport gets to recycle that pretty effectively, and it'll probably end up being like the Lucius and Flawless Blade transport. Because it is 1 command point to put a squad back into a transport if they killed something in the fight phase. Otherwise, I mean, they're very straightforward. If you run the blade detachment, they're pretty straightforward. Only 20 flamer rubrics? Dude, we've got 60 ahead of us. We are updating what I've painted last year. That's the whole point of what we're doing here. I've technically spread this out. Like, this was last year. This is what we're doing this year. I was sort of sitting around thinking about it, and then I was like, let's try it. Painted one guy with the update, and I was like, yep, I'm doing this. I liked how it looked. So update paint job it is. We've got maybe like 10 more tanks to work on, 60 rubrics. How many? Yeah, 20 Terminators past these 5. I still have to touch up the rest of the Zangors too. We got really far through my 70 Zangors. What you up to? Any fun projects? I'm just mulling over adjustments I want to make to my Zangor list for the Warp Meld Pact. Based on what I have access to, not so much what I want. I do have a shopping list, though. Stuff just needs to come back in stock. It is kind of rough coming back to these and catching mistakes I made. Panels I missed painting, stuff like that. It's crazy. I just let some of these go. Jesus. Might have to grab my white paint. Or at the very least, my gray. This guy was a rush job. Which is crazy, because I have a ton of Terminators, and I feel like I used them in one game, and that one game proved to me that Terminators are garbage. Specifically the Scarab Occults. I just remember deep striking perfectly next to something I thought would be like the ideal target to kill with lethal hits and like all the bonuses and benefits that I was about to apply to them. Extra strengths, full rerolls. I had so many great moments. Rerolls of ones on just like the general guns that weren't psychic. It was this awesome idea that I was like, maybe it'll be good. It was like the most stacking buffs I could possibly put into a single army. Nah, Terminators are garbage. For the most part. There's some that are decent. But there's enough damage output in the game right now that something like this just doesn't survive. All right, where's my gray? I knew it. I had it out. Sorry, I keep poking the mic every time I go in for more paint. Should probably just move it. Let me put it up, flip it over. Might be a bit more out of the way. Pew pew magic. I've added a Thousand Suns Codex overview to my list of videos I gotta make. It'll be weird for my channel, but at the same time, I do need to try to like expand stuff a little bit. Probably gonna spend an hour off stream thinking and putting together an updated mutant list based on what I have. It'll probably be a hybrid armored division. Big impactful hits, big impactful percent concept damage. My back's really... Ugh, I gotta stop hunching. It doesn't help that I'm coming off a tournament where I had to stand for like 10 hours. I didn't have to stand. I chose to stand. I'm going to be clear about that. No one at that tournament was like, no. No sitting for you. You had to stand for a TCG? When does that happen? Was that immediately after the meme picture dropped of what a TCG actually looks like? And it was like the 400-pound dude sitting at a table with his butt crack like completely out. The TCG organizer was like, not my TCG. I will not sully the name of my trading card game in the same way that Smash Brothers is basically constantly sullied. Oh, jeez. You too must suffer like an anime character. Is the event was inspired by the anime or the card game? Is that like people playing Yu-Gi-Oh while standing up with their arm racks on? What was that? That was like that felt like a surreal dream. There was like a video that I saw that I think was of a stream of people playing Yu-Gi-Oh like over Discord, fully geared up to sort of look like anime characters, I guess. Like they were wearing suits and like capes and stuff. And they had the arm toy for Yu-Gi-Oh. Do you think people that owned that toy and used it a lot when they were kids think back on their childhood and cringe really, really hard? Like, do they catch pictures of themselves, like in their family home or something, and just immediately like convulse? It's like, oh, I was so cringe. It's like PTSD for nerds. I still think it's funny that I know that Mystic Ryan collects Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, unironically. I get that he plays it with a friend, and that's cool. As a 40k player, much respect. But when I called him out for penny sleeving while we were streaming, that was pretty funny. We're sitting there just talking about stuff, and I'm just hearing that sound. I think a lot of us, maybe even you, Broshi, you know that sound of plastic being put around a cardboard card. Just like, it is a very distinct noise. Very hard to miss. It's like a swishing sound. We're all just sitting there talking about topic, and he's looking kinda down, and I'm just hearing. I was like, dude, are you penny sleeving? You saw him stop dead in his tracks. He was like, what? How did you know? No, I'm not making the RG feet emote. Wink. There's a couple. I've put a few up. I haven't really been driven to make more. Like, we don't really have a culture on the Spawncast. Like, some places that do emotes, it's always related to, like, stuff they do. Right? What do? We talk about news. Okay. Hit me with what I should be making emotes of. So I think one of the emotes is like a Max thinking face. There's a couple emotes like John wearing a Mega Man helmet. There's the angry RGT helmet where he's wearing his headphones and he's just yelling. All right. 5 Terminators updated. Which leads me to something I want to test, but will probably not complete on stream today. Oh, forgot about that. I like it. Actually. I was worried the blue on the vehicle was going to feel kind of crappy. But weirdly enjoyable to look at. Considering everything I'm going to have to do for these reworks, I might have to go grab another bag of brushes. Probably tomorrow. Some of the layer brushes I have are starting to get really frayed. That's what I get for using synthetic. I have to do everything in my power to not off-stream paint. Try to get some other stuff done. I gotta get back into illustrating. God, it's been like 2 years since I've actively tried to illustrate something for myself. I've done a couple things sketchbook related, so like I know I'm not super rusty. Like it's easy to pick back up, at least for now. Maybe the time away helped. No, yeah, it's been like 2 years. I think the only thing I really illustrated was recently, or within the last year or so, was I think Sean's book was last year that I did the cover for. Yeah, like I want to do more. But God, this has been taking so much of my time. Just getting all this stuff together and ready. And just when you feel like you're at that point where you're like, I'm good, I'm done. I can focus on other things now. Here we are choosing to go back in. And just go crazy. Yeah. guy's gonna be a bartender. Or you gonna be a busboy? Busboy Broshi or bartender Broshi? Or are you gonna work the fryer? You gonna make baller fries and tater tots? God, I want tater tots. Like, I want tater tots, not enough to actually go out and get them and eat them. But I kind of miss them, man. The fried texture. Actually, yeah, I like it. And then it'll have purple as the back. Yeah. It's actually pretty cool. The comparison. Old and new. Rather than put more paint on my little palette over here, I think we'll call it for tonight. Might be back tomorrow, might not. I do not know. I'm going to try to make a list tonight that I enjoy. I still want to stick with Warp Meld, I think. If it looks good enough. I don't want to do 2.5-hour games with a Horde army. But I might. Because it might be funny. The main thing I got to think about, and I might have justified it wrongly when I was doing the tournament, was anytime anything shot at like one of my monsters, I would usually ask the strength of the weapon, and then I would usually ask the amount of shots. Like, this is where it gets weird with Warp Meld. If you're shooting me a small number of times with a decently high strength weapon, like if you're wounding on, let's say, 3s with like 2 shots, if I can that do like good damage, it might be worth taking D3 mortals preemptively to lower that to 4+. Maybe I don't do it against 2+ attacks, because I mean 2+ to wound goes to 3. It almost doesn't really matter. It's almost not worth taking the mortals preemptively. Like, I don't think I would do it for las cannons outside of, well, on a 2+, which would mean las cannons shooting at Mutilith Vortex beasts. I probably would do it, because it's D3 mortals to potentially avoid D6 damage from a single attack that might miss on a wound on a 4+. It's not the worst. Still, though, better to not even get shot at, so I got to start thinking in those terms. So I'm going to try to tinker with a list, see if I can create a mutation detachment list that I'm happy with. Again, under the knowledge that this guy can actually lead Zangors, so he can uppy downy a lot, which is important, because he's very key to that list being useful. And then, yeah, we've got so much more stuff to do. We've got to finish our Sekiret, or Psychrats, or Sekared, or Sector. I don't know. These guys. We'll have to finish them at some point. Because if I'm going to run Armored Division, I need all 6 of them, I think. A squad of 4, maybe a squad of 2. Or just 3 squads of 2. Not pressing, though. I'm not really pushed to play Armored Division, Thousand Suns. Off to the side, I've got stuff for Soulforged. Worst case scenario here, we decide that I should probably just play Soulforged. At which point I need to finish all these tanks in like 2 weeks. Which I think is what? 1 Rhino, the Mauler, the Forge, 2 Hellbrutes, I want to say. 1 or 2 Hellbrutes. I'd have to put a list together for that. Thankfully, we finished the Vindicator. That's super good. Super good. Till next time, guys. I gotta get some food in me. Later.